Hey, what's up everybody? It's James here. In this video, I want to talk about the importance of wearing comfortable clothing if you have autism. And also I'd like to share my own personal experiences when I was a kid wearing clothes that was considered appropriate but also uncomfortable. I want to talk about what my parents and my teachers tried to do to help me overcome this struggle and help me wear clothes that was considered more appropriate and normal, even though it was uncomfortable. All right, let's get started. It's common for autistic people to have sensory processing struggles, which means we have trouble being sensitive to certain things and coping with certain things due to our sensitivity to certain things. Well, autistic people often struggle with what's called sensory overload and sensory processing. I made a video where I talk about this in detail that I recommend watching. I'll share the link at the end. Now I'm going to briefly talk about what sensory processing struggles are. Well, sensory processing struggles is when a person such as an autistic person has trouble dealing with certain kinds of sensory input. Now this doesn't necessarily mean that we struggle with all sensory input. It's only certain kinds of sensory input, and it can be different for each individual that struggles with sensory processing struggles. For example, certain sounds or certain kinds of lights or touches can bother a person more so than other kinds of stimulus. And this can cause us to feel overwhelmed, in other words, overstimulated. In worst case scenarios, it can cause major anxiety and even meltdowns if experiencing these high sensitivity sort of stimuluses for a long period of time. And this differs from high sensitivity in that high sensitivity is just you're generally having high sensitivity to everything. And this can be somewhat of the case for autistic people. However, there's certain things that we can become more sensitive to than other things, which is more of a sensory processing struggle for us autistic people. For example, I don't mind certain kind of touches. However, certain kind of sensations, such as from certain clothes, do bother me. Like I love the feeling of soft, silky clothes, but other kind of clothes with a lot of seams, such as pockets, zippers, and buttons, bother me much more. Which is a segue to my next topic about why certain clothes often bothered me when I was younger. So when I was a kid, certain clothes used to really bother me a lot, to the point it was so hard to deal with it was almost painful. Now I just talked about the fact that some of these clothes include clothes with a lot of seams, pockets, buttons, zippers. However, in addition to that, a lot of times certain clothes with certain textures used to bother me too, and oftentimes clothes with tags as well would bother me, to the point it was just so hard to ignore. It was so hard to ignore to the point it would often distract me in school. It was literally like a form of pain. So even though clothes would sometimes bother me, my parents would make me wear pants with pockets and different types of clothes that used to bother me anyway, because they felt I could at least overcome it if I kept trying to wear it. But it often didn't help. When I would wear the clothes, I would often tug the pockets on my clothes, I would chew on the buttons, grapple the sleeves in the clothes, and pull them down, and often flip them over my head in order to cope with the high sensitivity due to the certain types of clothes I would wear. It was kind of a coping strategy, but it did make me look like I was kind of odd, and it made me look different in front of my peers at school. In spite of me grappling my clothes all day long and the fact that I suffered through it, my parents, as well as my teachers at school, would make me continue to wear those clothes. And a lot of times when they would catch me tugging my clothes, they would sometimes punish me. They felt exposure therapy would eventually make me overcome this struggle, but it didn't work. I remember wearing shirts with buttons and chewing on that shirt all day long, and it was like all day of suffering. I had an aide at my school that would strongly enforce these rules, try to help me not tug my shirt and all that, and that was always really hard. Sometimes when I would touch my clothes, she would put my head down on my desk and hold my head down for about a couple of seconds as a sort of punishment. I did not like that form of punishment because not only it was just annoying, but it was embarrassing because all the kids in the class would see it, and it would be really embarrassing. What was particularly frustrating when I think back about this, it wasn't behavioral issues, it was just something I really couldn't help. It was just the fact that I was sensitive, but my parents and teachers would punish me as if I was misbehaving, in hopes I would overcome this. However, I never did. Eventually, my school had a parent-teacher meeting, and one of my second grade teachers spoke out and said, you know what, he's really struggling with this, it's really distracting his work, and kind of spoke out. She was a strict teacher, but really nice, and had a really caring heart, and so she spoke out and said that maybe we should stop enforcing these rules on him in regards to his sensitivity to his clothing. And lo and behold, all my teachers, my parents, and my aide decided to not enforce the rules anymore and let me wear what was comfortable for me. When I found out I could wear clothes that was more comfortable, it was like heaven. So for the next 4 to 5 years, I wore t-shirts, I wore clothes that was more comfortable, and I felt like it really benefited me a lot. I had much less overall anxiety and I was able to focus on school more. Well, today I still prefer to wear comfortable clothes. However, I can wear pants with pockets and clothes that bothered me more now. I kind of overgrew that struggle. And I think the fact that I wasn't forced to wear these clothes is what helped me overgrow this sort of struggle somewhat. Now, this is not to say that these clothes still do bother me to a certain level, but I can tolerate it a lot more. However, I still prefer to wear more comfortable clothes like t-shirts and comfortable pants or shorts. If you're a person with highly sensitive struggles, sensory processing struggles, I think it's really important to wear clothes that is comfortable for you. The reason is because it will help you focus on other things and won't be so distracting. Furthermore, it will reduce the chances of having anxiety and worst case scenario meltdowns, such as during times where you're dealing with a lot of other things like stress. With the added struggle with clothes, this can make it even harder to deal with and can kind of push you over the edge. If you have sensory struggles as well as other struggles, why put the extra burden on you just because society thinks you should wear certain types of clothes? There's many nice types of clothes that look really nice that can also be comfortable. So I think it's important to try to find clothes that also looks nice but is also really comfortable. Well, I want to briefly talk about the type of clothes that I like to wear. I wear a lot of times wear these silky type of shirts. This is actually a hoodie. It's kind of silky and I really like it. It's really soft. I also like to wear t-shirts because I like the cotton. It feels much better on my skin. There's less seams. I try to avoid clothes with a lot of seams, stitching, such as blue jeans or khaki pants. And a lot of times I like to wear loose clothes that kind of flow on you, that can kind of sway in the wind, because this makes you kind of feel less restricted. Of course, it's important to know that everybody's different. Everybody's sensory needs are different. So I think it's important to experiment yourself over what clothes you find comfortable and which clothes you don't find comfortable. Well, I hope you found this video interesting and helpful. If you do, give it a like and share it with a friend. So that way this can help people see more of my videos and benefit more people. All right, well, thanks for watching and have a good day. If you enjoyed watching this video, you might also enjoy the video How to Deal with Sensory Overload in the video link below.